Hey everybody, Uncle Rich here for Who's Telling the Truth. Guys, today is April 2nd. Hey, it's the start of the Yankees home opener and it got snowed out. Guys, we're having some strange weather, but today's not a weather type of show. Today's show is it's number 211. And the name of the show is Hogg-Tied in honor of David Hogg, who tied up millions of dollars in Fox revenue with just one tweet. Guys, this is the tweet that David Hogg put out. Pick a number 1 to 12, contact the company next to that number, and these are Laura Ingrahm advisors. You see Sleep Number, AT&T. So guys, you see all those advertisers. So guys, now the question is, come back to me, Judy. The question is, how many of those advertisers jumped ship and bailed on Laura Ingrahm? And guys, so tonight, we're going to have some fun with that. And guys, you know, one of the things I love to do on this show is I love to hate Fox News. And guys, there's a new sheriff in town. And the name of the new sheriff is the Sinclair Broadcasting Group. And guys, we're going to play something tonight that's going to blow you away. I mean, we're really going to hit you with some good reasons to boycott the advertisers on Fox News. But that's going to be a little bit later, because first we have to go back to last week. And last week, I had a lot of fun calling in to Chris Ponte's show. Now, guys, you have to remember, Chris Ponte does a show from the exact same desk that I'm at. And we're here through Comcast, and it's Community Access TV. So we're able to get the word out through Community Access TV. And guys, most of the time, if we could do this show live, this would be a call-in show. Well, Chris is fortunate enough to be able to get on live, and he has a call-in show. Well, on his last show, he had a woman, and she spent almost the whole show. Judy, I can hear you talking. So anyway, she did she virtually did the whole show, and I could barely call in. But at the end, I was able to finally get through. And guys, the guest that Chris had on, she believed in James O'Keefe's conspiracy. He's the big abortion conspiracy guy, the guy that sold the baby parts, that made that whole conspiracy up. And she's also a supporter of Alex Jones. And I tell you, so I called up and I responded. And Chris Ponte wasn't too happy with me. But guys, you know what? Sometimes when you tell people the truth, that doesn't make them happy. And Chris, after I called in, Chris invited me never to call in again. And guys, guess what? I'm going to make it a point every week to call into his show, because that's why we're here. And Chris, I'm going to tell you one thing. If you can't stand behind what you're trying to preach from here, maybe you should get off the air. Maybe you should do a different show. You're a sports-orientated guy. Maybe you should get away from politics, because your politics is evil. It's nasty. It's wrong. And for you to promote it is bad. And people say, hey, you know what? It's his show. He can do whatever he wants. Guys, you're right. He can do whatever he wants. But if he's trying to teach people that 2 and 2 equals 5, that crap don't float in my toilet, and I'm going to call him every week. So let's have a little fun. Let's listen to Uncle Rich call in, and let's listen how Chris goes off the edge, and then we're going to have some fun, because what's the one thing that we do here? We find out who's telling the truth. And Chris is going to be in for a rude awakening. But guys, that's why I'm here. I'm here not to be nice, not necessarily be rude, but in this case I have to be. Because when you start thinking in a ridiculous way, you deserve to be ridiculed. That's all there is to it. And Chris, there is nothing personal between me and you. We're two gentlemen. Your ideas are what's messed up. And that's why I'm here. And if you want to sit down and have another debate with me, that's fine. But Chris, you better come to the table with facts and figures and get ready to deal with the reality. So guys, let's have a little fun. Let's listen to my call-in, and then we'll have some truth on the other side. Judy, clip number 3, please. You're on the Ponte Show. Hello.
Chris, it's Rich.
Hey, Rich.
Chris, I'm sitting here. I'm in shock and in awe. I can't believe that you sat there and listened to her calling, and she more or less said there's a new media, and that the mainstream media is a fake media, and you guys are endorsing people like James O'Keefe from Project Veritas. Chris, do you endorse what that clown says?
I don't trust the mainstream media, Rich, and there's a lot of people that don't. And the same people that told me that Hillary Clinton was going to win by 10 points were wrong.
Chris, how much time did O'Keefe spend in jail? How much of
I don't know. You tell me. You tell me, Rich. But here's the thing. You want to sit there and you want to watch MSNBC, I think it's crap.
Chris, you're sitting there talking to somebody that's dealing with conspiracy theories.
So why can't I, wait a second, why can't I have a person like that on my own show?
Because that's crazy.
You think it's crazy. I don't think it's crazy. You think it's crazy.
Chris, when you're backing somebody that goes into an abortion clinic and makes phony videos, and you buy those videos, and you sit there and you don't say, you know what? This guy needs to be banished from the face of the earth.
Well, this is the reason I didn't let you in to my show. Because you don't want to make any contribution to the show. You just want to tell us how we're wrong all of the time. This woman, wait a second, this woman was an author.
I don't care who she is.
And she's also a member of the NRA, and she had a wonderful point of view, and I'm going to let her talk.
Because she had a sick point of view, and you endorsed it.
Goodbye, Rich. This is Rich. Don't call my show anymore. You have your own show, okay? You have your own show. If it's not atheism, if it's not socialism, if it's not MSNBC, if it's not Anderson Cooper, that's your narrative. That is not my narrative, okay? That's the way it is. Tolerance. You have no tolerance. You think everybody that shows up either here or on Skype is a quack if it doesn't follow your narrative. All right? I happen to like this woman simply because she lives in D.C., she has a conservative point of view, and oh, by the way, she was an NRA member. So I wanted to give her a chance to talk about the NRA because people like yourself have labeled it a terrorist organization, okay? Planned Parenthood has killed 180,000 babies by March 1st. You know how many gun deaths there were so far? 1,500. So who's the terrorist organization? Okay? I know what I'm talking about. Don't call my show ever again. What do we got, Mike?
Don't call my show ever again. don't do the show. I won't call it. It's that simple. That simple. But guys, do you notice how we had to get Planned Parenthood into the conversation? Planned Parenthood killed 180,000 babies. Why do you make this equation? Guys, when we spoke about Dave, when we had Dave Straight in a debate last week, again he brought up abortions. What's with these conservatives and abortions? Doesn't a woman have the right to do with her body what she wants? You going to start telling women what to do with their bodies? Is that what you guys want? Is that what you fat white guys want to do? You want to start taking away a woman's freedom? Right? Isn't that what we always hear from you clowns? It's a guy's freedom. But guys, if there's one thing that I love to do, it's I love to prove my point. And I said to Chris, I said, how long was he in jail for? You know, well, it turns out that his favorite conservative media source, Fox News, actually the next clip is from Fox News, and they point out that O'Keefe is a felon. I think he spent over $100,000 in fines. This is unbelievable. But guys, you know, we're going to show you a quick clip on O'Keefe, and you'll start. And this is from the voice of, from the mouth of Fox. So Judy, let's have clip number 4, please.
Project Veritas founder James O'Keefe has been convicted and forced to pay a $100,000 fine in the past. He was caught doctoring videos, and Twitter recently blocked him from his own account, preventing him from using the social media platform. This spliced video showed in a separate case, O'Keefe was charged and convicted for tampering phone lines at former Louisiana Senator Mary Landrieu's office. Fox reached out to all parties mentioned in the video for a statement.
A senior DNC official told me tonight that they never had a formal relationship for Americans United for Change. That same official, Britt, told me that, remember, James O'Keefe is a felon. Back to you.
Just remember, James O'Keefe is a felon. And that's the type of guy that Chris wants to promote on his show. And you expect me to sit here and not say anything, right? Well, wait, it gets worse. Because we got, you know, if we're going to put salt in the wound, we might as well put a good amount, right? Right, Chris? So let's take it one step further, and let's show when the stinger gets stung. And let's put the shoe on the other foot, and let's see what happens when O'Keefe gets his due. So Judy, clip 5, please.
The Washington Post says this woman, identified as Jamie Phillips, approached the paper about 3 weeks ago, falsely claiming that Senate GOP nominee Roy Moore impregnated her as a teenager, leading to an abortion. During routine fact-checking, the Post uncovered several inconsistencies in her story, including this fundraising post for a woman with the same name that says she accepted a job working for a conservative media outlet to combat the mainstream media. In a subsequent interview, reporters pressed Phillips about that online post and explained that she was being video recorded.
Do you still have an interest in working in the conservative media movement to combat the lies and deceit of the liberal MSM? Is that still your interest?
No, not really.
Yeah.
Not at this point.
No.
Phillips claimed the job was with the Daily Caller, but the site's executive editor later told the Post that none of us has interviewed a woman by the name Jamie Phillips. During previous conversations, the Post says that Phillips pressed reporters to give their opinions on the effects that her claims could have on Moore's candidacy, raising eyebrows. But she insisted that she was not working with anyone that targets journalists.
And are you in contact with other people? Are you in contact with the Roy Moore campaign or Steve Bannon or Breitbart or...
However, on Monday, reporters for the Post saw Phillips entering the offices of Project Veritas, an organization that uses fake stories and secret recordings to try to discredit news outlets.
Does Jamie Phillips work for Project Veritas? Did you guys send her to pose as a victim of Roy Moore to the Washington Post?
I'm 15 minutes late to this meeting, so okay. I gotta run, but I will we'll get in touch with you, okay?
Project Veritas founder James O'Keefe refusing to answer repeated questions.
Does Jamie Phillips work for Project Veritas? Did you send her to approach the Washington Post under a false name and with a fake story? If you're not going to answer that question, we're done.
I want to talk about one of your
I'm disappointed.
national
All right.
security reporters.
The newspaper now stinging the supposed sting artist, deciding to publish off-the-record details, saying this so-called off-the-record conversation was the essence of a scheme to deceive and embarrass us. We weren't fooled, and we can't honor an off-the-record agreement that was solicited in maliciously bad faith.
Chris, if you're shamed or embarrassed, you should be. You really should be. For having somebody on your show that endorsed somebody like him. Shamed and embarrassed. And you know what? You really look good behind a sports microphone. I'm going to really put in a good word for you. Maybe some sports network will pick you up. Because politics ain't your cup of tea, kid. All right. Now, as long as we're on a roll, let's not leave the table. Last week, we had the fortune of having Dave Straight on. And guys, we started talking about science. And Mr. Straight gets a little confused. And I started to bring up an issue with him. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to show what I was trying to, I wanted to cite the source, something that Dave wasn't able to do. And guys, like I always say on this show, be specific and cite your source. And what did Dave do? He embarrassed himself. Him and Chris should get together. They should do a show together and just call themselves Dumb and Dumber. I mean, they'd be perfect. But guys, let's take a look at Dave. And now you're going to hear the actual last week's show. And then I'm going to play a clip on the other side just to prove what I tried to tell Dave. So Judy, clip number 6, please.
I want to get back to this parts per million thing.
Sure.
What's the right amount? 400 is supposed to keep me up at night, right, and terrify me. What's the right amount?
Dave.
It's science, Rich. And give me a range in history on parts per million. It's science.
Well, you know, Dave, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah.
I can't tell you right now, but you know what I can do?
But you know I can, because I came prepared.
Dave, I can look it up.
Number one.
And then when I look it up, you know what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to cite my source. So let's see what source you're going to cite now.
I'm going to give this to you, Rich.
Well, let's just cite it.
You know what? You're going to go home and do the research.
Just tell me.
And you're going to say, he's right again. I can't stand it.
Dave, just tell me.
I hope you have Valium per night.
What's the source?
So,
what's the source?
This is the, let's see here. Hang on a second.
Name your source.
I'm just going to give it to you. You can look it up.
Yeah, you're going to give me something.
Yeah, it's the guy is named P. Goslin, and he did this report in May of 2013.
Me and him.
Caller, what's the question?
I know who's better, David. You, because you're the best man in town, David.
Simon, thanks a bunch, buddy. See you. Okay, so here's I don't know what the right answer is. What I do know is...
You said you did.
Well, I can tell you the research I pulled, and I can give you a range.
According to your research.
You can look...
So you mean your research is going to be different from mine?
Well, you don't have research, number one.
See, that's why I asked you to cite your source.
So I'm going to give this to you, and then you can dig into it, okay?
Yeah, but no, see, the thing is, from now on...
You can't...
Now on, you got before you come on to a show...
Really?
...and embarrass yourself, you're going to say, you're going to say it guys, so before I come on, I better make sure that I've got my I's dotted and my T's crossed, and I don't make a fool out of myself by saying I'm getting facts from somebody when I can't cite the source that I'm getting them. You know what? I heard somebody tell me, I heard global warming isn't real, and if I heard that, that's all I need to know.
Okay. Caller, what's the question?
Yeah, Rich, why do you want to waste your time with this jerk? He's not taking any of this seriously.
Yeah, but maybe somebody watching will be, and that's the important part. I'm not going to change Dave's mind, but maybe somebody will say, you know what, Dave, you've gone off the deep end. They're going to feel sorry for you.
You think?
Well, I mean, really.
Send your sympathy cards to reality. What's the name of the show?
Thanks for the call.
Truth. Okay, so here's my perspective, and you can have fun with this all day long. The research I did said that the ranges of CO2 on planet Earth, and I'm a huge agnostic on these numbers, just because I don't think you can historically prove or demonstrate what they've been. Temperatures on planet Earth only achieved some degree of reliability since the late 1800s. Prior to that, we did not have temperature gauges around the world. And the ones that are around the world today are pretty questionable. I spent a lot, but here's the range on parts per million on CO2. 170 parts per million to 7,000. Okay. I argue today at 400, and this is the thesis of numerous articles and research I read, is that we are dangerously low on CO2 right now. In order to keep up with the global food supply, to meet the growing demand of the population, you have to double the yields on planet Earth. The only way you're going to do that is by dramatically increasing the concentration of CO2. And the reason I brought up those diagrams, Rich, is because all of them show the heat from the sun zipping right through the CO2 and warming the Earth. But then when the gas is trying to escape, they're blocked by the CO2.
There you go.
Right?
That's the idea.
So this is remarkably stupid, because those same rays in their diagram are blasting through the CO2. In my mind, the more CO2, the less the heat is getting through to the planet.
No. The CO2,
that would be too logical, I know.
CO2 traps. It traps the heat.
Okay, it traps it.
The idea
then
is,
how does it get through it in the first place?
It reflects back off.
So the more you have, the better.
And it has a warming effect. Yes, it does.
So the more CO2, the better.
Very simple. You're
coming around on
You
this,
take
Rich.
two containers.
Yeah.
Two empty containers.
Yeah.
You put a tube with CO2 in one of them, and you leave the other one alone. You shine a light on it.
Yeah.
Which one heats up fastest? The one with the CO2.
Really? The one? Really?
Because the CO2, it's science.
Really?
It's provable. It's repeatable. Guys, Judy? Guys, so now you say, I tried to make a point with Dave, and now I'm going to show you the point I was trying to make by one of our favorite science guys, Bill Nye. Now, fortunately, this video is labeled Global Warming 101. And I don't know if there's a lower number, but maybe we'll have to use it for Dave. But guys, this is how science works. It's provable. It's repeatable. Something that Dave doesn't seem to understand. And, when he was talking about, what's coming through the CO2 initially is light. And then after it hits the Earth, it turns to heat. And then the heat goes to escape the planet, and now the CO2 retards it, and it acts as a blanket. So you see, Dave, you have you have the light source, and then you have the heat source. Two different things, but you never considered that. Why? Because you never took the time to do your homework and look it up. You would rather listen to Fox News and the conservative media than find out what's real. You'd rather know what's Republican rather than what's real. Right, Dave? Well, now we're going to show you the video to prove our point. So, Judy, let's have clip number 7, please.
Despite the noise about uncertainty in the political arena,
warming will actually save lives, not endanger them.
Do I believe scientists? No! The fundamentals of climate change have been understood by scientists for decades. To start with, there are naturally occurring gases, such as carbon dioxide and methane in the Earth's atmosphere. In themselves, they aren't bad. In fact, we need them in limited quantities to keep our atmosphere at just the right temperature for life as we know it to exist on Earth. But if we produce an excess of these gases, as we have, the temperature rises, as it has. If you want, you can replicate this effect yourself in a simple lab experiment. Here's how. Take two identical bottles and set them side by side. Put a thermometer in each bottle and seal them. Then run a hose from a source of CO2 into one of the bottles. Shine two heat lamps of equal intensity at equal distance onto each one. Within minutes, you will see the temperature of the bottle with the carbon dioxide in it rising faster and higher. The bottles are like our atmosphere. The lamps are like our sun. Most of the solar radiation reaching the Earth is absorbed by the surface and atmosphere, which in turn radiates energy out toward space as infrared energy, heat. Most of the heat energy from the surface is then absorbed by the greenhouse gases in the atmosphere and radiated back down toward the surface. The more greenhouse gases we create, the more heat is absorbed and sent back toward the surface to cause further warming. This recycled heat does more than bump up the thermometer. Warm air has the capacity to hold more moisture, and water vapor is itself a greenhouse gas. So there's even more warming, which means the planet's entire hydrological cycle, the water cycle, is affected. More evaporation, more precipitation, more extremes in general. For nearly 1 million years, the CO2 content of the atmosphere moved within a natural bandwidth. But during the Industrial Revolution, humans started burning fossil fuels in increasingly large amounts. In fact, now, that's around 7 billion of us, rely on carbon-based fuels for 85% of our energy. Humans currently produce around 35 billion tons of carbon dioxide every year. About 55% of that is absorbed by the ocean, land, and vegetation, while the rest remains in the atmosphere. Most of that excess comes from burning fossil fuels. And more than half of the emissions come from power plants and factories, while about a third comes from our various forms of transportation. If we continue the current trajectory, by the time our children reach middle age, the levels of atmospheric CO2 will reach twice that of our planet's long-time natural levels. That is why we're already seeing the temperature increase, and we're already seeing the consequences. 4% more moisture in the atmosphere above the ocean is enough to transition to a new normal. Dramatic weather events, floods, storms, droughts, fires, they're all happening at a frequency and intensity we've never experienced throughout human history. In other words, climate change. We've set this chain in motion, but the truly cataclysmic changes can be prevented if we act now.
Carbon dioxide is not a harmful gas, it is a harmless gas.
The first step is to separate fact from fiction. This climate science is no longer a matter of opinion, politics, or dogma. So let's not let a few dirty energy companies fool us or slow us down. There are now increasing numbers of affordable, clean tech energy sources, all available to us in limitless supply. By embracing them, we will create jobs and improve the economy. The current climate crisis is reality. We can't wish it away. What we can do is cease the debate and the denial and move on to solutions together.
Reality. Isn't that what life's all about, guys? Reality. Dave, are you ever going to make this mistake again? Are you ever going to embarrass yourself again? Probably, because you got to carry water for the Republican Party, right? You don't care about what's real. You don't care about reality. You just care about what's Republican, right? And guys, we're going to wrap up this section of the show with Alex Jones, another guy that Chris Ponte's girlfriend, Dr. Judy, was hyping. And guys, when you see what people like Alex Jones are starting to do, you know, how they're starting to brainwash the simple folk. And then we're going to have some good comedy fun with Jordan Klepper. But guys, wait till you see the evilness of Alex Jones and Uncle Joey. Oh, I forgot to mention, Uncle Joey, haven't seen him in so long. And Uncle Joey says he doesn't watch Uncle Joe. Alex Jones. But how can you believe anything Uncle Joey says? Uncle Joey doesn't know if he's coming or going. He's a real Republican. Hey, maybe Dave and Uncle Joey should get together. But guys, let's take a look at Alex Jones, and you'll see. You'll see what happens to the simple folk that watch this garbage. Judy, number 8, please.
With the truly frightening historical iconography that you cannot deny in these parallels of this youth march. Authoritarianism is always about youth marches. Here we go.
March.
Meine Zeit verwendet habe im Dienste meines Volkes. Gib du jetzt deine Stimme ab. Wenn ja, dass ich gearbeitet habe, Jahren für dich eingesetzt habe, dass ich anständig meine Zeit, du jetzt deine Stimme ab. Hör mich ein, so wie ich für dich eingesetzt bin.
How evil do you have to be to make this comparison? What's right with you when you put up something like this?
And we can also show the sign saying ban the guns. And I want to be clear. I'm not saying David Hogg's a Nazi. I'm not saying any of them are. I'm saying the ideology of the left that's identity-based is how the Nazis were based.
He's not saying he's a Nazi, but he gave you every implication that he is. And that's the idea that he wanted to leave you with, plain and simple. Right? Plain and simple. This is what we want people to think. And Chris Ponte promotes this on his show? Wrong. Or if you're going to promote it, be ready to take phone calls. Be ready to man up, Chris. And now, guys, now we're going to turn the tables a little bit. We're going to have a little bit of fun. And we're going to laugh. And hopefully this will make us... Hey, I tell you, this is some good stuff coming up. So, Judy, clip number 9, please. Didn't you? And, you know, we did a show on Tommy Lauren. So, Judy, let's put a little more salt in the wound with with still number 22. Guys, and here's one of our favorites, Tommy.
You saw it this weekend.
Nope, still number 20. There you go. And guys, who is she? She's the whore of Babble On. And guys, that's what she does. All right, Judy, come back to me. They just babble on. And, you know, you listen to her. She's good looking. You almost think she makes sense, but she's just babbling. And it's time to stop the nonsense. And guys, you know, what's been going on, the way, you know, David Hogg has been, you know, he's been chastised by Ingram. And, you know, I mean, it just drives me crazy that the Conservative Party goes after high school students who don't want to be shot. I mean, this can't be this hard to believe, you know, to understand. But the next clip we're going to show you is Santorum. And even he admits that Ingram's a moron, and there's got to be changes. And guys, one of the guys in the show says he doesn't think that Ingram's going to be coming back. She's on vacation. She took a week's vacation. A vacation just like Bill O'Reilly. He got fired.
Controversy of the last week has to do with Fox host Laura Ingrahm going after David Hogg, who's one of the students from the high school that was brutalized by gun violence on February 14th. She'd sent out a tweet making fun of him for not getting into some of the colleges. Now, we should point out he's 17 or 18 years old, but he has been very outspoken and very critical of the NRA and other groups. Take a listen to what Hogg had to say after Laura Ingrahm criticized him, and she did, we should also point out, she did apologize.
When people try to distract, like Laura's trying to do right now, from what the real issue here is, which is gun violence in America, it's not only sad, it's just wrong. From a journalistic standpoint, I would say that she needs to be more objective and needs to stand down, because I am not the issue here. The issue needs to be gun violence in America, but what she's trying to do is to distract from that, and I hate it.
So, Senator Santorum, at least 7 of her advertisers have pulled out of her show after David Hogg went on Twitter and started naming her advertisers, presumably for a boycott. And she's now on what Fox called a pre-planned Easter vacation. Do you think that there's an overreaction to her tweet?
Look, the reality is she made a mistake, and she shouldn't have done that. It's part of what I see as a real problem in American politics, which is the demonization of people, the personalization of politics. It's just, you know, I understand that the president does that and sets, in my opinion, a very poor example. We shouldn't follow it, and that goes for both sides. The demonization over the last week has been on both sides of the aisle, and we really, there are important issues to discuss here on school violence, and the reality is we should keep it to those issues and stop the personal petty attacks. It's not helpful.
Mm-hmm. But do you think, though, that, I mean, she did apologize. She said she was sorry. Does that not matter anymore?
She's a grown woman going after a teenager and poking fun at him, not even challenging his position on gun violence, but going after him personally. She apologized, but I think that apology was more, I got caught and now my advertisers are leaving my show, more than being genuine. But the point is, you have a grown woman. And I agree with the senator, this toxic environment that has been created, and not just because Mr. Trump is in office, it is just, if you are on social media, it gives people license to say whatever they want to say about people.
Yeah, I just got to say, it's Easter. It bothers me that the apology was couched in terms of being in the spirit of Holy Week, and now we're supposed to believe that this was a pre-scheduled vacation because of Easter. If it wasn't a Christian nice thing to do during Holy Week, it's not a Christian nice thing to do during any other week either. And so if she is really sorry, she should express that. But I still question if she's doing this just because the advertisers walked, and what Fox News' position is on this, because you guys are right. This mean-spiritedness that oozes out of the system, especially from right-wing talkers, it's turned me off for a long time. I think other people recognize that, and it takes advertisers to bring it to their attention, then I'm for it.
And left-wing talkers too, by the way.
Sure.
I'm going to play devil's advocate one more time. Does it not matter at all that she apologized? I mean, is that irrelevant here? We so seldom see people acknowledge that they did something wrong. She did. She said that she wished that she hadn't done it.
So, Jake, I still don't. I can't believe Laura Ingrahm actually has a show. So, like, I'm kind of at a point where I'm there. She apologized. Look, you know, and with free speech in this country, also comes consequence. You have the right to say anything you want to say, but it also are consequences to those actions. And so those advertisers are pulling out, and I think rightfully so. And I don't think she'll be back on TV after this pre-planned vacation.
I disagree. I completely disagree with that. Laura made a mistake. She apologized for the mistake. She has a long track record of responsible journalism, and she'll be back.
She also has a long track record of xenophobia and bigotry and rhetoric.
In any case, let's end this on Happy Easter to all of you. I hope you have a peaceful day. I hope you have a wonderful day to you and your families. Appreciate it. Americans are inviting Roseanne back into their living.
Okay, guys. Judy, how much time do we have left? 13 minutes. Okay. Because I think what we're going to do is we're going to make a change now. What I'd like you to do is go to number 12. That's going to be a still. And I just want to read this still. And we want to just do a little, you know, I was going to do a clip on the fake news. on Fox, which was number 11, but that's a 5-minute clip. So I want to make sure that we get these other clips in. So can you bring up still number 12, please? I used to think no one would stoop so low as to mock children whose friends were murdered before their eyes and then make up insane lies about them. But Trump supporters proved me wrong. And guys, I mean, what more can you say? You know, and you got guys like Alex Jones. He doesn't believe Sandy Hook happened. He thinks it was a hoax. It was made up. That's sick. And that's another thing, Chris. That's another reason why you shouldn't endorse the woman that you endorsed. But guys, what's starting to happen now, and I mentioned this at the beginning of the show, there's a new sheriff in town. And this first clip we're going to play, I watched this clip, and at first I said, you know what? I like this idea. I thought it was a way for TV stations to be able to right their wrongs. If somebody got something wrong, I thought they were giving us an opportunity to right them so that we could correct it. So let's take a look at the first clip, Judy, clip number 14. And this is an actual, now this is an actual clip that explains what they want to try to do. So Judy, 14, please.
Molly Shen.
And I'm Morgan Chesky. Our greatest responsibility is to serve our Northwest communities. We're extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that Como News produces.
But we are concerned about the troubling trend of irresponsible, one-sided news stories plaguing our country. The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media.
Some media outlets publish these same fake stories, stories that just aren't true without checking the facts first.
Some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control what people think. This is extremely dangerous to a democracy.
At Como, it's our responsibility to pursue and report the truth. We understand truth is neither politically left nor right. Our commitment to factual reporting is the foundation of our credibility now more than ever.
But we are human, and sometimes our reporting might fall short. If you believe our coverage is unfair, please reach out to us by going to comonews.com and clicking on Content Concerns. We value your comments. We will respond back to you.
We work very hard to seek the truth and strive to be fair, balanced, factual. We consider it our honor, our privilege to responsibly deliver the news every day.
Thank you for watching, and we appreciate your feedback.
So they want to responsibly deliver the news. And Uncle Rich saw that clip, and he said, what a good idea. Now I'm starting to like this. And guys, what started to happen next, I did another clip which reminded me of the echo chambers. And I tried to download it, and I couldn't. You know, I tried to configure it, and I couldn't. And I said, what's the problem? And it turns out the reason why I couldn't upload it was because it came from a tweet, and I can't make the conversion. So I was speaking to our sound man, Kurt, and I said, boy, Kurt, I really want to play this clip, but I can't convert it. He said, well, call Dave. And Dave runs Channel 23. And I said, Kurt, I don't think Dave would appreciate, I don't think he's working on Easter. And second, I don't think he'd appreciate me calling him at home to find out how to download a video. But guys, things changed. And I was able to get the video, and now we're going to play the video, and listen, it sounds like an echo chamber, and it'll blow you away, and then we're going to show you what's behind it, and you're going to go berserk. So Judy, let's have clip number 15, please.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities,
the El Paso, Las Cruces communities, Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned about the trouble and trend of irresponsible,
One-sided news stories plaguing our country.
Plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and false
news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
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 Guys, can you imagine this? It seemed, how many people spoke out and said, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to perpetuate your propaganda. I'm not going to read it. How many of them did that? Well, you know what? Guys, like I said, I was flabbergasted. I thought I was going to break this story wide open because we do the show at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. But guys, the Morning Joe beat me to it, and they took advantage of this. And when you find out what the Sinclair company broadcasting group is all about, we're going to want to do the same thing to them as we did with David Hogg and getting the advertisers off of Sinclair. Guys, if they have no advertisers, they have no revenue, guess what? They have to start telling the truth. They can't BS us anymore. So, Judy, let's have clip number 16, please.
An entire broadcasting system running a propaganda clip.
It's pretty frightening.
Attacking news agencies while the president himself was running a lot of fake news stories.
Well, and I find the anchors to be frightening too, that they did this. So it goes all the way down to who actually let the words pass through their mouth without thinking about them. Yeah. Early last month, reports surfaced that the largest owner of television stations in this country, Sinclair Broadcast Group, was planning to force anchors across the country to attack other media outlets for sharing, quote, fake stories. The broadcaster is known for pushing a conservative platform and mandating must-run commentary. Over the past week or so, anchors nationwide were required to read from the script, not their own commentary, the commentary of their company. As this mashup from Deadspin illustrates, the results are chilling.
Hi, I'm Fox San Antonio's Jessica Headley.
And I'm Ryan Wolf.
Our greatest responsibility is to serve our
Treasure Valley communities, the El Paso, Las Cruces communities,
Eastern Iowa communities,
Mid-Michigan communities.
We are extremely proud of the quality, balanced journalism that CBS 4 News produces.
But we are concerned about one-sided news stories plaguing our country.
Plaguing our country.
The sharing of biased and false news has become all too common on social media. More alarming, some media outlets publish these same fake stories without checking facts first.
The sharing of biased and
false news has become all too common on social media.
More alarming, some media outlets publish these stories simply aren't true without checking facts first. Unfortunately, some members of the media use their platforms to push their own personal bias and agenda to control exactly what people think. And this is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is extremely
extremely dangerous to our democracy.
This is 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 extremely dangerous to our democracy.
And John Meacham, I think we would all agree that
This is extremely dangerous to our democracy.
A national broadcasting system that is shoving propaganda down local anchors' throats,
and them reading them.
straight from the pen of somebody who's a Trump acolyte, is really chilling.
It's kind of beyond chilling, right? I mean, it's state media, essentially. It's one of the things that we've always, as a country, prided ourselves on, a free and raucous press. People can accuse us of thinking alike sometimes. They don't do that anymore, but back at mid-century, but at least that was a free choice. This is something, it's sort of fascinating. I guess only Donald Trump could do this, could unify fears of the corporate media plus First Amendment people plus true conservatives who should be worried about large institutions dictating the reality for others. So anyone worried about any of those issues should be, as you say, chilled by this.
David, this is, it looks like something that we would mock the Russians for during the days of Pravda. And yet you have, again, Donald Trump. You combine this with Donald Trump attacking actually respectable news outlets that actually fight hard every day to get it right. While Donald Trump in his White House and his allies are churning up their own fake news. They're lying to the American people throughout the weekend over the past year and a half, but they're trying to discredit those who are actually calling them out on their lies, and now they're using an entire broadcast system, and I'm not sure who advertises on these stations, but they're basically advertising for America's new Pravda.
Guys, that's what it comes down to, the advertising dollars. Hey, if it worked for David Hogg and if it worked against Laura Ingrahm, why won't it work against the local Fox station? So guys, I looked it up and we have one of those stations, one of the Sinclair stations in our area, and it's channel 61. So guess who's going to start watching channel 61, and guess who's going to start sending in forms? And guys, you can join. You can have fun too. So Judy, how much time do we got left? 1 minute. All right. So anyway, let's end up with this. Judy, let's end up with still number 21. It's a nice, refreshing still. And guys, hopefully, with the way things are going and with the way Trump has been decimating the Republican Party, hopefully come November, this is what you're going to see happen. You know, we're going to have that blue wave that's going to, beautiful job, Judy. Isn't that a nice picture? A nice blue wave just sweeping over Washington, because who could put up with the nonsense that we hear now? All right, guys, so who knows what's going to happen next week? Who knows what Trump can pull? But we'll be here, and we'll be ready for you. Good night, everybody.